I would like to share a story of a lead that I received a phone call today. I wanted to share it because it's kind of more different than the general leads that we receive every day. She was a divorce lead. She was looking for a legal representation and help in divorce case that she filled out the intake form according to that. However, when I called her, her intention was not to divorce because she was not really sure about whether she really wants a divorce or not. She was pregnant and she was unemployed. She came to the United States from Korea as a student and she got married here and she started a life. However, she could not work. So they were married for 4 years and she told me since the beginning of their marriage, she was in fact not sure whether this was the real path that she wanted to walk through. She was never, sure about the relationship and the situation, but most probably I suspect, she never revealed it, but I'm not sure about her immigration status, but she might be here as a marriage-based applicant because I know that her husband was a US citizen. She told that she was an immigrant. Her husband was not. A very unfortunate situation that she could not end the marriage because she was not financially stable. She was not able to continue after leaving the home. And today when she called me, she said she's pregnant. So it's a hard situation. And she said her husband actually didn't know about her decisions. When I received a call from a divorce lead, I tell them how we proceed. First of all, we differentiate whether it's a contested divorce or an uncontested divorce. And if the parties can agree at a mutual point on the merits of the dissolution, then we recommend them to settle the case, to end the marriage as uncontested as possible. Of course, we come together with the other party if there is a way to negotiate, and if we can negotiate, we prepare the marital settlement agreement accordingly, and we write down the agreement, and then the parties, if they're all okay with all the terms, if there is no dispute on anything, they sign the agreement, and then we submit it to the court. I'm not going to the details of the legal procedures, so it's going to be a subject of another video, could be. But as a general concept, we differentiate as lawyers, as a law firm team, whether the case is contested or uncontested. But when I talk to this lead, whether this is a contested or uncontested divorce, when I asked questions to understand whether this is something that they can settle the case or it's going to be that they will have battle over, let's say, custody, support, property division. So these are different matters. And it was actually a difficult case because she was pregnant and she told me that there was no one to help her out. When she will give birth to her child, she will not be able to work, but there will not be anyone to help her out with taking care of the baby. So it's a different situation. And what we have done, we talked with her and she told me she was not sure whether her husband was going to agree with the divorce terms or not because he was not aware of this intention at all. Also, we're asking a divorce lead the date of separation because this is important for the divorce proceedings. The date of separation is asked on the divorce forms. So you need to write down the date of the separation. And it's also important to decide for dissolution and to decide for property division as well. She said they were not separated, they were still living together. So her husband was not aware of this phone call at all. It was a hard situation for her to explain what she wanted. And at the end of the conversation, when we talked to her, she was not really sure whether she really wants to end the marriage or not. So in that kind of situation, I always recommend them to make wise decisions. She should not reconcile just because of being afraid of financial instability. I totally understand this, but this should not be a reason to continue or save a marriage. You can find different reasons, different motivations to save your marriage, but there should be some ways. We need to understand whether this is something serious or not. I asked her whether there's a reason for a divorce. She said no. There was no violence, there was no abuse, there was no betrayal, there was no financial problems, there was no family issues. Actually, she said since the beginning of the marriage, she was actually aware of the cultural and background differences, but she continued the marriage. It's okay. And she said at the end of the conversation, she can try to find a way, but then while we're talking, she understood it's not an easy process. Of course, if a marriage is no more good, if it doesn't feel safe anymore, it doesn't feel good anymore. But her situation was different and she was pregnant. So we talked. And then she said, okay, let me think twice. Let me see what happens later. We concluded together maybe she was not ready for a divorce yet. However, she could file for a legal separation. Many of our clients, many of our leads are not aware of that they could pursue a legal separation instead of a divorce case. So if this is your final decision, and if you are ending the marriage, ending the marital property, ending all relationships, so retrieving your legal status to be single again, actually on many formal paper you will still need to select divorce rather than single, but yeah, you're going to be single again. Legal separation is interesting. It's not ending the marriage legally. It is not officially terminating the marital status. You are still officially married. However, there is no more marital relationship. There is no more community property. There are some terms to be settled, decided, like child custody awards, child support awards, spousal support awards. Anyway, with legal separation. And there's a way that it's a way for you to think of the separation idea for some while, and you can see whether you are ready to separate or you want to continue the marriage. So I recommended her this if she could do so. And even though she cannot maybe work for some time after giving birth to her child, until the time that she can send the child to daycare, let's say, for instance, she can receive child support from her husband. If she is sure that she doesn't want to continue this marriage, she wants to be separated, she wants to live in her own apartment, she wants to start a new life only with her baby, although she is not working, she still has such an opportunity. Of course, they're protected by the law, and there is fee waiver for the court. If you can prove that you are financially unable to cover the court expenses, then we fill out a fee waiver form for you so you can waive the court fees. Conclusion, I don't know what she's going to decide for, but I want to say that we talk to a lot of people every day. We listen hundreds of stories. I have listened to many different people coming from very different backgrounds. And this is not an easy situation to continue, but with good legal guidance, you can decide whether this is the right time to make a concrete and final decision or not, or whether there's a way, another way. So at the end of our conversation, she said, okay, maybe I can reconcile with my husband, maybe we can solve our problems, which I really hope for, and they welcome their baby together as a happy family. But if not, then she said she could consider and discuss legal separation with her husband instead of divorce at the first stage. So they can try for separation and they can see if it works or not. For separation, the parties should agree, and she was going to talk to her husband and to see whether they can meet on an agreement for the separation, or with the best possibility, they're coming back together as a happy family.